Moments with God, a time of reflection for every day.
April 25th. A clear sermon. Women likewise should adorn themselves in respectable apparel, with modesty and sobriety, not with braided hair or gold or pearls or costly clothes, but with good works, as becomes women professing godliness. Let a woman learn in silence with complete subjection. 1 Timothy 9:10.
Gaius Pliny, the first-century Roman writer, tells us that in Rome there was a bride named Lalia Paulina, whose wedding dress cost the equivalent of 600,000 euros. Even the Romans and Greeks were scandalized by the love of the dresses and jewels that characterized their wives. In those times, when women were not considered people, but rather things that belonged to either their father or their husband, they were used for domestic work and bearing children, not for the important affairs of kingdoms or business. In religions, they were used to be sold as sacred harlots for pagan cults. In this sense, without having any major concerns, they spent much of their lives on vanities such as hairstyles or clothing. Even in the Jewish religion, women were always considered inferior to men. They were not even allowed to attend the synagogue, much less participate in worship or read any scriptures. Only men were allowed. But this changed thanks to the influence of Christianity. And yet, it was demanded that women not be like those who are not Christians, that they not occupy their lives with the vanities of dress or hairstyles, but that they dress decently, full of beauty, but simply and without unnecessary luxuries. Fashion rules the world. And it is a tyrannical mistress, which often forces its followers to submit to the greatest inconveniences and discomforts. Fashion imposes taxes without reason and charges without mercy. It has a fascinating power and is always ready to criticize and ridicule the poor if they do not follow in its wake at any cost, even at the sacrifice of life itself. Satan rejoices that his designs are so successful, and death laughs at the blind zeal and health-destroying folly of those who worship at the altar of fashion. Fashion, as long as it goes against biblical principles, is evil. In fact, not all fashions are wrong, but only those that violate the Lord's stipulations. And this is the great weakness and point of temptation, even more so for women. The Bible tells us not to wear gold or silver ornaments, that is, jewelry, since these are unnecessary expenses that could be used for the Lord's work, nor to wear expensive clothes, or clothes that are not in accordance with the Lord's principles. A terrible sin weighs upon us as a people, because we have allowed the members of our churches to dress in a manner inconsistent with their faith. We must rise up immediately and close the door to the seductions of fashion. Unless we do, our churches will become demoralized. Many a soul who was convinced of the truth has been led to decide against it by the pride and love of the world manifested by our sisters. How little do these sisters who profess faith know of the sermon their dress preaches. Their dress says they do not love the coming of Jesus, that the love of God does not fill their hearts, but the vanities of the world. Therefore, their dress should say that they are daughters of God, that they hope for a better city in an eternal homeland, that the gospel has the power to change tastes and habits. Our dress preaches without our speaking, therefore, let us dress according to the will of God. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this audio. We invite you to share with your contacts and visit the website BibleWell.com.